here we go. Fucking hell, man. They're just throwing everything at us in this chapter, and it's only one of many chapters still to go. Alright, well this one's the easiest one to deal with, so let's just do this one. 50 minutes. I did say in the last episode that this one's going to be a long one. I apologize that this is so long, but I think we're nearly at the end of this one, okay? Bear with me just a little bit longer. I need to figure out a way to beat Odin. Forget winning, I need to figure out a way to survive. He was good, but he wasn't invincible. What was his weakness? Odin possessed an extraordinary advantage with these dealt cards, and he was likely familiar with playing the setup. Really, solid play was the only way I stood a chance. I should run through some math and see if victory was even physically possible. That sounds reasonable. Sleight of hand was the only way I stood a chance. Yeah. An unexpected trick. We can't cheat, we can't use sleight of hand. Let's try unexpected trick. Not a blatant cheat, Odin wouldn't respect that. Last time Odin was cheeky, holding on to the dangerous 7 card, I doubt he pulled the same trick twice. There's something that was closer to say a loophole. I should assume his hand would consist of the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I couldn't beat Odin, not at this. Worse, Odin was likely to dump the lower cards in the ends of the sequence, where they were less vulnerable. But perhaps Locke, king of cheap tricks and rules lawyering, maybe he would stand a chance. Last time I thought that the first 3 cards were my opportunity. So maybe... what was the ill-defined piece of this game? The one thing not in focus, but no, nothing came to me, and why would it? There were certainly a lot of elements to choose from. The start of the game was not the most important, so naturally Odin knew it the best. It was the most important. Nothing in the first 3 cards would catch him off guard. Okay. Can we change that? No. So then the question becomes, was there a loophole? Clearly Odin would already thoroughly had those bases covered. What was the ill-defined piece of this game? The one thing not in focus. I should think about it, how it would be possible for me to win. There were certainly a lot of elements to choose from. Let's be objective. And I could only realistically make an alignment with my 6, my 5, and maybe my 4. For one, you had the final neutral card that sat at the end of the table the whole time, and I had to incorporate Odin's 8, 9, his 10, or possibly his 11 in a pinch. What happens if I click this? Wait a second, that was it, the final card. It sat on the table the whole time. Sounds simple when you put it like that. The rule said you could put any chips on any card during your turn. What if you placed chips on the final card before it was flipped? My only problem was, Odin wasn't too keen to let me make an alignment. I mean, Odin probably wouldn't see that coming. This might be the crucial break I was looking for. Odin would just separate his dangerous cards whenever he saw one of mine. So then follow-up question, how do I abuse this? Best case scenario, I need to use 2 chips to cause an alignment in the first place. Let's assume Odin plays it safe, hides the 7 as the final card, and then assuming that he places a 9 as his last card and the 7 as the final neutral one. If he placed an even card as his last card, then theoretically, I couldn't do anything. Unfortunately, that ideal scenario would never happen. I'd need to spend 1 turn placing my chips on the last card, 1 turn placing chips on one of his. In all likelihood, I would need to spend all my chips with the slightest chance of alignment. However, I'd pre-place chips on the final card on my second to last turn, making an alignment would be possible. At that point, Odin would simply need to spend 1 chip and my attempt would be thwarted. One problem, Odin also has access to chips. It would take so little effort to mess up this plan on his last turn. It was simple. If he wanted a way to win, I need to overcome that hurdle. For my plan to work, I need to distract Odin somehow. Need to fork Odin? What does that mean? Like, deceive. Let's go with deceive. We're doing the lock thing. If I hid the chip then, maybe if I told him... No, that's not gonna work. I was already skirting the edge by being on the borders of the rules. If I did something more blatant than that, something that fundamentally broke the game, I could provoke Odin's wrath. Yeah, okay. So it's wrong. I couldn't see a way to do that by deceiving him. Let's try distract him. How do I distract a shark from a life or death game while he's playing it? Puppet show? Okay, I was losing. That was a dumb idea. I could distract Odin from something that happens right in front of him. Fork. Like the utensil? Stab him with a fork? Or is it just fuck but with an O? Odin knew that it was best to save your chips for as long as possible. If he knew I didn't have a chance, he might wait to protect himself from some potential threat. Even more likely if I incentivized him somehow to keep his chips. I could set up a scenario early in the game where I might use up all of my chips to make an alignment. It was possible. If I could fork him, make him to choose one of 2 separate attacks to defend against. That was a loose plan, but at this point a loose plan was as good as I was getting. I still got 0 chips, so I might as well have skipped it. He has the card, he has 10 chips, we're ready to play. If Before we start, I want to establish 2 things. Oh? First of all, let me re-clarify a rule. On my turn, I can place as many chips as I have on any card, right? Not just my own. Naturally, that is the core tenet of the game. Have you forgotten it already? I only played it once, okay? I just want to be clear about that. Secondly, clear stakes. If I win, I want your cooperation, regardless of how many chips I have remaining. Fine. Even using all your chips, you stand no chance. If you win, I'll stay completely motionless for as many seconds as you have chips. Understood? Oh. Loud and clear. Hear that, you brats? You might have your vengeance yet. Art stayed quiet. His face was like stone. He looked unwell. Polly, on the other hand, frowned a bit. Why would you impose that rule on yourself? A gamble's got to have stakes. It's because he possesses a fighter's spirit, Polly. Something you are sorely lacking in. Now come. We've spent too long chattering about nonsense. I couldn't agree more. Odin shuffled the cards and dealt them. As expected, 1 through 6. To plan so far, without even talking, Odin placed down an 8. Of course, 8 was another vulnerable card. He had to place it at the start where it was only assailed on one side. He could place an 11 or a 13 next. He totally could. But he didn't know what I had planned for my 6. And even without using an 11 or a 13, I would look so helpless. A single chip on his behalf would completely wreck my plan, so I placed down a 5 and held my breath. No, I didn't do that. I couldn't show that I was worried about this turn. I just waited. And then, like a beam of heaven, Odin placed down a 10. I didn't react at all. I just pretended to think. And then I placed down my toe, and I began to tap my foot in a rhythmic, but increasingly quick manner. Odin just needed to keep playing. My 8, 9, 10 threat was meaningless. It could be solved at any point. No need to waste chips now. I played a 9. I played a 1. He played an 11. I played a 4. I played a 13. Yes! Yes, yes, yes! I placed down a 3 and then took one of my chips and placed it on the face down card at the end of the line. Please, please be a 7 under there. Odin looked at me with a confused look. I just looked back at him, and then he smiled. He was smart. He knew what I'd done. He knew that he was beat. You were proficient at Nahoy's Nest, were you not? I should have been more practiced in my approach. I was too preoccupied in trouncing you at my own game that I forgot you were wont to play your own. I didn't respond. I didn't have to. I just waited for him to act. And act he did. He placed down a 12 and placed a single chip on the first card, the 8. I placed down my 6 and placed my remaining 4 chips on it. I flipped over the last card, 7. 12, 10, 8. I said it, not even believing the words that was coming out of my mouth. Like that, I'd won. I tried to hide the massive sigh of relief I felt like letting out. It wasn't the time for that. I needed to project confidence. But geez, how many heart attacks could I get on a single day? As it should be. Interesting. Quite interesting indeed. An unexpected outcome to be sure, but not an unattractive one. This is what I was looking for. This was the spark of life the city was missing. Does that mean what I think it means? Indeed. Cain has grown sloppy and slothful. If he is worthy to inherit Zahak's will, he should be able to overcome this obstacle with grace. So with my dying breath, I shall back you. Let this be my final bid as a ruler. Good to hear. I don't need much from you. All I need is for you to make a little call. Odin, for the love of God, don't go along with this nutcase. Well, you have no idea what you want, and you have no idea what you're talking about. Just shut up. A mere call, is it? If you're calling upon my name, this plan better be worthy of a ruler. Oh, trust me, I think you're going to like what I have up my sleeve. Good. And then I informed Odin of all the relevant details. He picked up on my intent rather quickly. Understandable. Deep down, Odin was clever. After we were clear on what was to be said, I handed Odin his phone. To be honest, I wasn't sure if I could trust him. He was just as liable to warn Cain of my whole shit the moment he got on the line. But, well, I mean, it's not that things realistically could get worse from here. Play my outs. Odin would help. Odin dialed up Cain's number and moments later the phone picked up. Ah, Cain! You're lucky I've decided to grace your ears with my voice. Yes, I'm safe in the war room. It's actually what I wanted to discuss with you. Our city's intruder burst into this area not long ago. No, I'm okay for now. Art and Polly were around to handle it. And of course they didn't finish the intruder off, they're incompetent. They were just able to take the fight out of the bunker and I locked them all out of there. Though, who's to say what'll happen when one side wins? If the intruder is victorious, perhaps I shall try to break in through the bunker. Regardless, I have information I wish to convey to you. Naturally, it's important. I get your message about killing Devon. Always knew he was a weak one. I could care less about how he was handled. However, you said you finished him in the governor's office, yes? That may raise a problem for you down the line. See, it was a brief conversation with the stranger, But in it, they quoted the governor's words spoken in confidence to Ariane. I can only imagine that such an exchange was captured by a bug of some type, be it a listening device or camera hidden in said office. And I would wonder if said device was still present. Inference, Kane, inference. You know this individual's capability as well as me. Surely they had several opportunities, no? The relevant fact is, if you did end my son in that office... so you see the rub. Good. You always were clever. It would be utterly unbefitting of the successor to be defeated in such a trivial manner. If the challenger is to dethrone you, I wish it to be a grand battle, not a rogue mechanical device. Yes, yes. Good. Then I shall take my leave. Just like that he hung up. So it went well? It is done as you wish. Now go forth. The fated clash awaits you. Fated clash my ass. Go get yourself killed, arsehole. That does it. Shut the hell up, Polly. It seems one of you still has some spark left. Shut the hell up too, Odin. You two ruined my life. Ruined your life? How dramatic. I gave you everything you ever asked for. None of that shit matters. I'm smart. I'm determined. I'm capable. Those are traits inherent to me. I would have an excellent life regardless of the circumstance of my birth. What you gave me, Odin, you monstrous king, was a warped perspective of the world. For whatever reason, I believed in you. I followed you. And look where that has brought me. Relying on underhanded tactics, accepting death as a calculated loss. I'm unforgivable. Polly, Devon, you're all transformed into beasts. That is your own fault. Just because you were not No, Odin, this is on you. You claim to care about your legacy, but it was by your hand that the Deisma family will go down as scum of the earth. By the end of this, I'm going to end up in prison. And my only consolation is that by accepting my fate, I'm consigning you to yours. You're going to live to understand that every warped, shitty belief you hold is worthless. Odin said nothing. Surprisingly, these words seemed to actually get through to him somewhat. Polly just sulked silently. On the surface, it was a bit surprising out of the two of them. Art was the one who actually had a change of heart. But it made sense. He'd always been the mature one. Art turned on me. I'm sorry for my family. Please save Panthea. I'll do my best. I gave Art a token nod, then turned around. Honestly, I didn't really give a shit about whatever personal revelations Art might be going through. Sure, it was neat that Art had come to this realization about himself, but at best it was just a way of shirking responsibility, and it was too little too late. In the meantime, I would be busy dealing with the shit that actually mattered. I climbed out of the war room, exited Odin's mansion, and got back into my stolen car. Time to head to the governor's office. I slammed on the gas pedal and made good time. The governor's office wasn't super far from here, but if Kane happened to be hiding out super close to it already, well, that couldn't really be helped, could it? It'd probably be fine. I'd successfully lured Kane out. I was certain this would work. Why? I was counting on Kane's fundamental nature. He was smart. Smart enough to realize that I totally would have put a camera in Aisha's office. Because hey, I did. But more importantly, if he did personally kill Devon in the office, then I knew it had to be him retrieving the camera. Not some henchman. Not a proxy. Him. Why? Because in his mind he couldn't picture anybody who wouldn't check the bug for information themselves. It's what he'd do after him. And he couldn't let somebody get leverage on him. So then, spurred on by a trusted confidant, he'd go and check the recording device himself. That's when I'd be there. I'd confront him in that office and I thought some more about things. If I was going to beat Kane, while I drove I took out my phone. Before long I arrived at the governor's building. I noticed one of the car parked nearby. A familiar car belonging to a familiar reporter. Well then, here it was. Do or die time. One way or another, things would be coming to a head. I could only pray for the best. I parked and got out of the car, took one final breath, then I walked over to the building's front doors. I wasn't actually totally sure about how to proceed from here. Luckily it turned out that the front doors were unlocked. I thought the chapter would end right here, and we could start the next chapter in the governor's building. Well, that was easy. I entered the governor's building and looked around. I didn't see anybody. Was Kane in the office? It was unlikely. Just one thing to do then, I suppose. I steeled myself and headed down the hallway that led to Aisha's office. I just have to see... What the fuck? I looked back and forth, panicking. What the hell is going on here? Without any warning, big metal shutters had dropped in front and behind me. What the ever-loving fuck was happening here? As if to answer my question, Kane casually walked out of Aisha's office, smug smile plastered across his face, pistol in hand. Well. Turns out there were a few mysteries of the city you didn't figure out. Good to know you're still fallible. I was getting worried there for a moment. I racked my brain and instantly found evidence of the security measure existing in my memories. Shit. I should have... No, actually, if I'd concluded that there was something like this from Gani's reaction when I tried to enter his lock, I'd have been completely crazy. Thinking about it though, there must have been some way to deactivate whatever the setup was over at the front desk. Not that it mattered much from where I was standing. Oh, watch out by the way. The fences are electrified. Don't want you zapping yourself. Seriously? Yeah, it's messed up. You're not surprised to see me. Oh, here? Yeah, I had a hunch you'd be showing up. The story about Odin just so happening to hear from this information that tipped him off to the recording just seemed too good to be true. You feel me? I was grateful, sure. But life doesn't often give you much to be grateful of. That's what tipped me off. How oddly defeatist. Kane shrugged. Marduk was always reliable, a straight shooter, man of his principles. Odin, though? He was always far too eccentric. I always figured that eventually he'd end up biting my hand, one way or another. Guess that day's today. Not that it mattered, because in the end, looks like you're the one behind bars. You lose. To accentuate the point, Kane held up the pistol at me. Shit. This is really bad. Was I really fucked? No, I still had an out. There was still a way to turn things around. I just need to buy some time. You keep saying Kane talking. Like, from what I could tell, he really loved the sound of his own voice. Your motivation behind all of this, you're really not going to tell me? Why would I? No need. I already figured it out. Oh? That's fun. Well, while we're here, why not go ahead? I'm a little curious as to what you figured out. It was straightforward like I thought. Well, as straightforward as anything could be in this fucked up city. Zahak. You lead Panthea to the state it's in now, alongside with the Trimurti, Odin and Marduk. Whatever this was, it was clear this is the will of somebody carrying on as well. I asked if he had any children. Apparently he did, but just some daughter who died a while ago. Nothing to look into at first glance. Then I remembered Zahak was a bit older than Odin and Marduk. Just because Zahak's only daughter died, that didn't mean his lineage died out. What if his daughter had a son of her own? Heh, looks like he caught on to Panthea's worst hidden secret. The real truth of my parentage. Neat, good on you. Well, it's not like it was a real secret. Anybody can figure it out if you know where to look. Hell, I told you that my grandfather was a big shot politician that made the city like this back a long time ago. You know, you said I disappointed you. I think it's my turn to turn the phrase back around on you. Just trying to follow in Granddaddy's footsteps? Pretty uninspired if you ask me. Maybe. Still, if I had to guess, that explains what happened with your parents. You know, the whole thing about your dad killing your mum, trying to kill you. What if it didn't have anything to do with that? What if they were just two unrelated things? That'd be fair enough, I suppose. In that case? Is that the case? Nah, you got me figured out pretty well. It's a pretty tragic case all round. My dear sweet mother didn't do anything wrong. She was just teaching me about my past. Teaching me about my future. She instructed me with Zahak's lesson about how Panthea needed to be for sparkling future to be reached. Nobody believed in Zahak more than my mum, even when he was in jail, though Odin and Marduk were close seconds. Anyway, my father was this huge spiritual nut. He looked at the Zahak situation very differently. When he caught wind of what my mother was doing, he totally went nuts. Went on about how she was letting the corruption spread, how it needed to die out. Batshit stuff, let me tell you what. All of a sudden, Papa's got a gun. I'm running, hiding, and eventually the police come and sort it out. Wow. You know, when I first heard that story, I never would have thought that I would end up sympathizing with the father before too long. Seriously? Low blow. Low blow indeed. Yeah, possibly. Still feels like he wasn't far off on the corruption thing. You sure grew up fucked. I grew up with a sense of perspective. I knew what I needed to do when growing up. I figured I'd run out of talking room sooner if I didn't direct the topic of conversation towards more substantive topics before too long. Anyway, the secret of yours is what sparked the murder of Maximilian Collins. Isn't that right? I'd blame that part less, though it was certainly a factor. Max, the moron. Looking for a quick way to relieve himself of debts, he broke into his aunt's storage locker to look for valuables, and apparently he found something quite valuable. Veronica's diary. In it she detailed all sorts of things, and one of those entries, written in stunning detail, talked about the confession Odin, the damn braggart, had made to her in private, about how he masterminded the city with two others in a makeshift triumvirate. Sorry, I've run out of drink, and I'm getting dry now because it's been so long. How he had worked with Zahak and Marduk. Reading this, Max is at least sharp enough to know he'd stumbled onto something big. However, unable to see anything beyond the most immediate small-term use for this information, Max decided it would be a good blackmail fodder. It was a real scandal. People would pay to keep it hushed. Max must have decided against blackmailing Marduk, the head of the duets, directly, and perhaps showing a wisdom it wouldn't have pegged for him. He must have figured Odin was too dangerous to blackmail directly, which left him 1/3 to try and abuse. He didn't know much about Zahak at the time, but he went, did his research, found out I was his descendant, and as a semi-public figure, a reporter with a reputation, he must have figured that I was the perfect target. I cared enough to try and hide this scandal about my grandfather. I likely thought had some funds to pay him with, but I didn't actually pose a threat. Or at least that's what he thought. When he came to you to blackmail him, you realized how dangerous he was, knowing about the Trimurti. After all, you used those connections to puppet the city, right? Pretty much. I used the fact that I was Zahak's descendant, trying to fulfill his legacy to turn Odin and Marduk to my side. It took a bit of convincing for both of them. Odin was particularly arbitrary with some tests, but both men always had too much respect for my grandfather, and too much faith in his ideals. Even if they'd grown older, past the whole thing, they still felt like they owed me their ear, if only to swap information. Being able to pull some strings with Odin and Marduk gave me the sway I needed on the Olimpo and Duat fronts, but if Maximilian Collins knew about the Trimurti, then my secret was a threat. Honestly, I didn't even mind the blackmail that much. I could easily put together that sort of cash. The issue was the information he knew. Even if he promised not to talk, an idiot like him was bound to slip up, get in more debt, push for more money, just a general liability in all senses. So, I just took matters into my own hands. Don't like to, for obvious reasons, but sometimes it's called for. The night of the gala, I put his body in my truck and brought him over to the dump outside the venue. Matched with the bell, the crime was neatly pinned as a double killing for the cock-robin killer. Good way to cover my tracks. A little late on my part, but good to know I finally solved the case. Did you? What the hell, I'll give it to you. I need to keep jumping to topics Kane was interested in. He said you used your Trimurti connections to sway Olimpo and the Duats. Then to complete the trifecta, you just need to put the governor in your debt. That's where the djinn comes in. You know about the djinn too? God damn, you are thorough. But yeah, I told you way back when, given my history, there was no chance I could ever be elected legitimately. And that was fine. I'd learned from Zahak, and I had learned from his mistakes too. Being governor openly had too many weaknesses. It made you high profile, which made you a target. It was also the most temporary of the three heads. I wanted my plans to be more sustainable, so electing a puppet head just made more sense, But damn, I think I kinda screwed it up. Sure, Aja seemed like a good choice, vaguely resembled Zahak, likely to fall under the influence of the djinn, easily electable. Early days, I was big on keeping her in the front. But before long, she just wasn't working out. She acted too slowly, hoarded too much power. She'd lost the plot, so to speak. I mean, I'm a very patient man. I was willing to wait, if that's what perfection took, but even I have my limits, and Aja had reached them. And that's why you were having more coverage on the Oracle that wasn't just pro-Aja. Transitioning away from backing it. Well, that and the fact that I kind of need to keep my credibility up. Of course. So then Bark is your next puppet. That's what you contacted him with. The guy was super clueless. And the person in the corner was a criminal extorting him. Wasn't too hard to turn him to my side. Of course, a piece like that, not destined to go far. But for this temporary measure, yeah. He might make a decent stopgap governor while I get my other ducks in line. I didn't have a clever response. Aw man, this is fun. Really it was. I mean, incredibly frustrating at times, sure. Looking at it from the grand scale, I really did enjoy this little game the two of us played. Sniping back and forth at each other, this weird cold proxy war that finally came to a head. That's the most interesting thing to happen in a long ass time. Not that I do it for the entertainment, but it's a nice perk. Shame it has to end now. No. A bit more time. Surely I can fix this with a bit more time. Keep him talking somehow. Gotta keep him talking. You don't do it for the entertainment, huh? Then why? What's the point of it all? Oh, I thought you already figured out my motive. I mean, I know you're following in Zahak's footsteps, but what the hell does that even mean? Do you even know? Oh, Mercury. Again, I told you my motivation straight from the get-go. I believe that amassing power is the way we can make Panthea a paradise. I just want to make improvements, and I want to keep everything in line. Trust me, I've given a lot of thought to all this. It's the best way for long-term growth. The issue you run into so often with these attempts at paradise is that so few people really share a vision. This was my problem with Aja. But I find that there are a lot of different paradises, each better than what we have now. If you just pick a direction, march forward, send it proudly, you'll make something better than what we have around here. So what? You just want to play God with Panthea? Is that it? Am I not owed that? Kane had an edge in his voice now. Of course not, why would you be owed that? This might as well be my grandfather's city. They scorned him, locked him up. But this place became better under his reign, and everyone damn well knows that. He left the city for me. He left it for me to play with, and he left it for me to keep making better. And things will be better, trust me. It's been some slow years, that's true. I've been finding my footing, and had something of a dud in charge on the legislative side, but it's all going to be in the past before long. I'm the only thing that can make Panthea be what it must. Wow, what a narcissist. All men with ambition are. Well, Panthea must be. Why does it need your help? Why must it be sculpted by you? Are you kidding? Mercury decays the natural state of things. Until we reach a paradise equilibrium, things will just get worse if nothing is done. Now you can see examples all over the country. How this whole place has slowly been going to shit. In Hightower there are mass kidnappings, with death collars and explosive belts spurred by years of corruption. In Aurea, celebrities of all types are using their fame and fortune to sway the public just for the sake of their little games. It's madness, I tell you. Every spot of the map you're feeling a slow, collective fall to madness. It's as though the whole country is reaching some sort of tipping point. But not Panthea, not us. Through it all we stand tall. We shall become the shining standard the country can aspire to. People will find safety from the madness of Panthea's golden gates. Stand tall, resisting chaos and decline. The hell are you on about? Panthea's no different from any other of these places. Under your fucked up puppet state, a war has been brewing under the surface. It could have broken out at any moment. I had it under control. When you get your eyes and ears everywhere, you can nip conflicts like that in the bud before they get out of hand. What do you think I had Aja get Devon for? Of course, Devon also went off the rails, but I'm blaming you for that one. So what, you think Panthea can reach its true form under you and you alone? Acting by yourself, making whatever decisions you want, you're going to create this perfect city. Pretty much. You know, it's just a dictatorship, right? Spot on. I'm trying to make a dictatorship. That's bad. I'll grow up. What a brain-dead level 1 outlook on things. A dictatorship just means the state will reflect the ruler. Maybe I'm vain, but I quite like my reflection. You can't know that for sure. You're making some real assumptions to think that a dictatorship will be better than the alternatives. What alternatives? Mercury, I know you're really sad about JC, but just look at it logically. This is the best way, and I got proof. I mean, look at the products of democracy. Look what the masses come up with on a regular basis. You gotta trust them to come up with what's right. That's no damn good. That's no damn good at all. Well, I know deep down you agree with me. But things would be better if smart people could just control it all. I know, because you pretty much did the same thing. What? I mean, am I wrong? You acted completely independently, doing the work and making the decisions by yourself, and look how far you got. You do it just as well as me, the power of the motivated, talented individual. That's what I am. A motivated, talented individual. This asshat, who's just like Aja. As much of a Zahak devotee he might claim to be, he's completely missed the point. The more I was talking with Kane, the more I realised that he wasn't really motivated by the ideals of reform, at least not the same way Zahak could be. He had some rough ideas about how to make Panthea better, sure, but that wasn't really what drove him. His motivation could be described as a blind sense of nationalism towards Panthea, combined with a real god complex. Cityism? Pantheism? Whatever, hardly the point. Ah man, I don't want to do this, Mercury, I really don't, but I just don't think I can bring myself to forgive you. You know why? Indulge me. Anything to keep him talking. I'm mad because you had to fuck up Olympo. That's the thing I can't stand for. Politics, by their very nature, change. And I mean, the duets were always temporary measure, to be replaced with strict police state when the time was right. But commerce stays the Titan's hand. Fundamentally, Olympo was the thing that was the key to raising Panthea above its station, creating a city of superior technology, superior economy. That would have made an achievement to raise us even higher on the national map. And because of your stupid meddling, that's all a mess right now. Kane just sighed. Oh well. I'll just rebuild. It'll be annoying, but if you believe it, I'm actually pretty young. I've got time. Just like that. You just rebuild everything. Pretty much. You wanna know why I can? Because I have power. The power of information, the power of money, the power of connections, and the power of talent. With those 4 things, I can really do whatever I set my mind to. I'll fill the voids you created, patch over the holes you tore, and begin work toward the perfect Panthea again. But that's the far future. Right now, I've got something to handle with the power of a gun. Shit. I'd vamped all I could, but in the end, I was still out of time. There had to be something. I was reaching a blank. Kane lifted his pistol, but then he looked up, and with a scared expression, dived right back into Aja's office. I turned around, and to my rescue was Bark Underwood, wielding a pistol with an extremely nervous expression. Bark? Looks like I got here in time, huh? The nick of it, more like. Real showman, huh? On my way to the governor's office, I thought about what edge I had on Kane. I thought of one. Kane might make good use of people like Tills, but he never really trusted anybody else. When collecting evidence against him, he'd be alone. He might have claimed I was a one-man army, and true, I preferred to work alone, but that's exactly why he wouldn't expect me to call someone else in. The only question then was who I could really trust. My options were disturbingly limited. Krish was objectionable for a few different reasons. Valdera was probably too upstanding to get involved with something like this. But Bark, I'd called him and explained the situation as quickly as I could. I pleaded with him, pulled on his heartstrings. He also loved Panthea, believed in a better one than we had. He wanted to live, he wanted to help. We never had an honest relationship, but I prayed that we had enough trust that he could believe me. Before I could get an answer, however, the call was interrupted. Buck was still being interviewed by police in his apartment. I thought that was probably that and decided to move on without him, knowing that the time frame to catch Kane was slim. And yet, I never should have doubted you. A fair bit of doubt is probably warranted at this point, but this is what standing up for the underdog is really about. I had an idea, but then reconsidered. Kane was a sly bastard. I got close to the back fence and mouthed the following phrase to Buck as clearly as I could. I'm lying. Keep the gun aimed at the door. Buck looked confused, but gave me a small nod. It's probably a way to shut off the electricity to these fences over by the front desk. Passed me the pistol through one of the openings and then you can go look for it. I looked over to Aisha's office and sure enough Kane took the bait. The moment I said this he popped out. He'd been listening in, waiting for a good chance to ambush us. Hearing that the pistol was moving through the fence, he thought he could kill us both. However, in reality he was greeted with a very prepared Buck aiming his pistol right at him. Fuck! The shot had hit Kane right in the shoulder, causing the pistol in his hand to fly further down the hallway. He slunk back to Aisha's office, wounded. Yes! Nice work, Buck. Now do what I said for real. Buck just nodded, slipping the pistol through the fence's crack. I grabbed it and aimed it straight at the office door. Kane wasn't getting a chance to grab his gun again. So, you said there was a way to shut off the fence's electricity at the front desk? Wait, the gate's electrified? Yeah, Buck, keep up. Try, I think it was a low cabinet. Look for switches. On it. Mission settled. Buck ran over to try and turn off the security measure. You know, I wasn't sure you'd come. Neither was I. I didn't have a good reason to. And yet I ended up coming all the same. Weird. You're telling me. Well, what can I say? Despite it all, you're a convincing person, Mercury. I decided that if I'm gonna live, then I'm really gonna live. And well, I guess I'd rather work with a bastard like you than a scumbag like Kane. Don't know what that says about me, but it was a conclusion I came to. For some reason, this small little statement made me feel quite nice. But I didn't have time to revel in that. I think I found it. Alright, the power should be out now. Awesome. I reached forwards to the gate in front of me. Sure enough, no signs of shocking. I began to try and lift the chain link gate. It was actually pretty heavy and took some effort to move. By giving some energy, I was able to raise it high enough to duck under it. I took a few moments to catch my breath after that. Whew, okay. Time to settle this. I held up a pistol firm in my hand. I looked down the hall and saw Kane's pistol still discarded. That was all I needed for a green light. I walked forward into Aisha's office with the pistol held out. I didn't remember any exit from Aisha's office. So where was Kane, the bastard? The lights were off, so it was really dark in the room. I walked in the room, scanning it quickly to try and spot Kane, but I didn't quite... Before I could finish my thought, I felt a slamming come to my side. Oh shit! I'd really fallen for the wait to ambush by the door trick? Kane, bleeding but far from out of the fight, slammed me against the wall, causing me to drop my pistol in pain. No! Usually I wouldn't be this weak, but I'd done a lot of hard work today, most recently culminating in a brawl with the Deismer brothers. I was weakened. Still, I could take on fucking Kane. I slugged him in the stomach and he stumbled back to Aisha's desk, considering we're Vels, who was a very competent fighter, and is the same person as we are. Yeah, you should be able to. Just take on the mantle of Vels and kick his ass. I ran forward, ready to bring him to the floor. However, as quickly as I approached, Kane sprung up and got a lucky break. He let off a kick which happened to land square on my gut. It hit right in the worst spot, sending me toppling over to the floor. He might not have been a fighter, but he knew street tactics. Without a moment to compose myself, he followed me to the floor, putting his hands around my throat. And then, with a rage I could feel, he began to choke me. Shit. Choking was no fun. I could already attest to this fact. I tried pushing him off me, but my arms failed. What? After all this time they were failing now? It wasn't a matter of Kane being strong. I was weak. I'd run around all day, acting as a wrecking ball in my own right, and the physical toll was beginning to catch up to me. I pushed, but I couldn't get him off me. Not as I was getting weaker. Fucking die! Kane's strangle became tighter. I could hear the gargled noises my throat was making. No. Could Buck come to my rescue? No, but those two fences were heavy and took time to get under. Nobody would get in here in time to save me. Was this the end? No. Limply, I started grabbing around with my arms, looking for anything that might help. And then, my right hand felt something. Something metal. I patted around some more and found a handle of some sort. I didn't have time to consider anymore. I just swung whatever I was holding at Kane's body. Fuck! Kane let out a howl of pain, and his grip loosened substantially. Here's the opportunity to butt him in the head with my head. Ow! It hurt me just as much as it hurt him, but combined with the stab wound, Kane fell back. I began coughing, catching my breath, as I stood up. Once I had my composure, I looked down at the weapon in my hand. A dagger. No, a kunai. Oh my god, it's Devon's kunai. Huh? What was that doing here? Whatever, not remotely the time. I rushed over to the side of the room and picked up the pistol I dropped. Then I spun it around and held it right at Kane. At this point, he'd gotten to his knees. I put the gun right up to his head. Then for a couple of seconds, the two of us just let out some ragged breaths. Shit. To think it came down to something this stupid. That's what caused my plans for Panthea to crumble. You're deluded, Kane. This wasn't what decided shit. If you killed me here, it wouldn't have changed anything. What? You claim you were going to rebuild, make a stronger Panthea. But that's not true. There are too many loose threads already. Too many to tie up away easily. And your whole fucked up way of running things, it creates too many risks. Too many ways to go wrong. Too many people like me. Your loss. It was inevitable. Every time you made a back alley move, you risked it all crumbling down. And someone like you, you'd never stop making those moves. So your defeat, it was inevitable. That right? Kane just looked up at me sadly, then back down. Damn. You know, I get the feeling I'm going to be replaying a lot of today in my head when I'm in prison. Thinking of how things could have gone differently. Prison? You think we're going to let you go to prison? Cap him now, come on. We've been an assassin for the duets, we can handle killing a few people. Agonizing over my mistakes? Sounds like torture. Prison, huh? How optimistic. Oh, please. You're not gonna shoot me here. How do you figure? Yeah, we've shot quite a few people at this point. Because you're not like me. Not really. Since you run around on your own handling things how you want, not in accordance with the law. All the same, I've seen enough from you to know. You do care about justice. You're not just some random vigilante. If I posed a threat, sure, you'd be justified in killing me, but look at me. I'm defeated. It's over. We both know it'd be better if I just went to prison, coughed up to everything I did. So stop playing tough. It's your worst act so far. You're wrong, Kane. Unfortunately, I am a lot like you. For JC, you fuck. With the pull of a finger, I sent a bullet straight through Kane's skull. Moments later, he lifelessly slumped to the floor. I looked at the body before me. It was over. I looked around a bit more and noticed Devon's body lying dead against another wall. Aja too. She lay limp in the corner, dead or unconscious. Either way, it was the end of the road for her after all this. At this point, Bark made his way into the room. He looked around for a moment, taking it all in. Oh. Yeah. Well, good thing you didn't die? Yeah, good thing. It's pretty close too. So what now? I'm not sure. I've probably got loose ends to clean up, but I can probably guess one thing. You're likely going to be governor. That's... yeah. Huh. It's a lot. You're telling me. I could shoot you right now, save you the trouble if you want. Not a funny joke. It's not, is it? I looked at Kane and I felt an emptiness. That was weird. Whatever. I'd done most of what I came for. One last objective left and I'd be satisfied. Alright, I'll let you walk. Be the governor you want to be. I just have one condition. Well, two actually. Conditions? Yep. Can't say I like where this is going, but go on. First of all, since the election seems already handled, I get to keep all of the cash. Huh? Oh, right. I mean, yeah, fine, I guess. The suitcases were back at Bark's apartment. Good thing I decided to have them stuffed in a closet, else they would likely have been seized when the police came. Alright. Oh, and that goes for all the money in your room, and this room. This room? Right, this room. I had a hunch that Aja's secret stash was in here. In fact, based on her behaviour, I'd caught on the hidden camera. I walked over to the large painting of Aja. With a bit of effort, I pulled it and it swung open. Sure enough, behind the painting was a safe. A safe with a 4-digit combination. At first this looked like it would be a problem to me. And then I looked a bit closer. Saw that 4 of the numbers on the keypad seemed to have been worn down a lot more than the others. 1, 2, 3, 4. I typed in my guess at the combination. I heard the affirmative beep. I guess Aja was only human too. I opened the safe and was met with a glorious sight. Stacks and stacks of cold hard cash. Whoa. Well indeed, my friend. It was a sight to behold. I took a few steps back. Then I looked around the room. Kane, bullet to the head. Aja slumped across the wall. Safe filled to the brim with money. I'd gotten everything I came for. Revolution, revenge, and a tremendous payout. It was a complete victory. And I felt... well, what do you know? Like I said I would, I'll hold my tongue. We're not quite done yet, are we? No, I'm just here to rule on that bet of ours. You correctly predicted the outcome. Not a particularly unlikely outcome, but hey, you did it. So here's your reward. Oh man, I bet so much too. And how do you feel about winning some more chips before the end? Right now it looks like the road is lined up perfectly for Buck to come in, claim the governorship. So do you think it'll be that simple? Or will something else come out to thwart him? Something you've forgotten? What do you think? I think Buck will be governor. Well, where's the optimist, huh? Although I suppose it's questionable if it's optimistic outcome, isn't it? Alright, here's the rub. How much are you willing to bet on that? I have 76 chips now. I usually bet 5, but seem we're nearly at the end. Let's bet 10. Good, good. Well then, I'll go back to letting you finish the story. Oh, well, that's the end. We only I took a break and it only took 9 more minutes, so... I'll cut this one in half, though, because it is nearly 2 hours long. So, we'll make them, like, 45, 50-minute episodes, something like that. So that it's not such a big one to push through in a single day, you know. Anyway, I think we've got a few more to go once we get back in here. Maybe 3 by the look of it. 1, 2, 3, presumably. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for getting out for me, and I'll see you in the next one.